potential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@kbla1580.com. That's advertising at kbla1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
Sensational, yeah. What didn't I do for you, girl? And I know, and I know, and I know. I act the fool for you. Love like a riddle, yeah. Give me the clues for the riddle. Oh, wow, oh, laugh just a little, yeah. Life's pretty sweet, can't be bitchy. Tell me love her to the morning, nah, nah, nah. Love her to the nighttime, nah, nah, nah. I don't get nobody, yeah. If you give me body, I won't tell nobody, yeah. Valley girl, she wears clothes. Now she want me pool skirt, so me pool skirt, valley girl, she wears schools. You see, it's obvious, sensational. Yeah. What didn't I do for you?
KBLA Talk 1580. You know what's sensational to me? The courage of these young people to stand up for their convictions, many times against the will of their parents, their educators. And whether you agree or disagree, it's not even really the point. The point is they are taking to the streets like every generation has before. Only now they're, dealing with police with AI and social media and all of these different forms of weaponry and communication, which makes their fight and their plight even harder. When I occupied a building at San Francisco State, when we did as students, maybe when you did, if you're not a student now, we weren't facing the fact that, we could have our images captured and run through a database, right? That AI could be used to identify us and try to ruin our careers, like what they're doing in New York, where, whole corporations are stating we won't hire anyone who is a protester, where students are being targeted, where they're being suspended, having their grades and their futures impacted by this. That is not fair and it's not right, and we are setting an incorrect example. And the thing that feels really undemocratic about it to me is the fact that it's clearly one-sided, right? If police at UCLA or security, when we were praising UCLA for taking a hands-off approach, then these counter-protesters came in, police let them beat up students for an hour or two, not a minute or two, an hour or two, then move in. Those so-called counter-protesters are allowed to leave. They're not arrested. But you've got student journalists. I'm seeing one report now where 4 of them were seriously injured from the Daily Bruin, and this is happening on campuses all over the nation. The students are not being protected if their views are on the anti-war side. If their views are on the defend Israel side, as Molly Bell points out, a foreign government. Why does Netanyahu have so much power over U.S. policy that Anthony Blinken says, you know what, we're not going to sanction those IDF soldiers after all because we're going to let the Israeli government do it? you know what? We're not going to vote to let Palestine become a permanent member of the UN because we can't do that until the war stops. But who controls that? Netanyahu. And yes, Hamas has responsibility too. Front cover of the New York Times now saying, there's still hope for ceasefire if it wasn't for Hamas. But that is not objective reporting because Israel has already repeatedly balked at the idea of any kind of permanent ceasefire. Hamas, yeah, they have their conditions. Israel has their conditions. The sides are not agreeing. The fact that our official apparatus of government is, and I know that Israel is an ally. I know that we've stood by Israel. I'm not confused about that. But that doesn't mean you have to stand by Netanyahu. That doesn't mean you have to stand by and watch a slaughter unfold before our eyes and don't even threaten to take away their funding. Like, forget sanctions. We're paying for this. So, sensational is that courage that these students have. And I really want us to take in the fact here in California, counter-protesters, well-funded, clearly coordinated. We're going to wear black. We're going to have on white masks. We're going to run in. We're going to have bear spray and sticks and Israeli flags, and we're going to beat up students. Then police are going to stand by, and security is going to run and hide in a building, according to the UCLA Bruin, for hours while students are beaten, bloody, faculty are beaten. What is actually happening? That to me should be, and then this morning they used stun grenades and a massive LAPD presence sweeps in, dismantles those tents, takes everything down. And this is happening in other campuses too, right? Portland State University police are surrounding the library because student protesters are in there. And this is what's happening. The police response is now escalating at campuses all over the country. Where is the conversation with these student groups? Where is the negotiation with them? Where is the acknowledgement of what they are protesting about? They're treating them like they're a bunch of vandals that just decided to camp out and occupy libraries because they have nothing better to do. That is not respecting their intellect, which is supposedly what we send them to school to develop. It's not respecting their human rights, their constitutional rights. A colleague just texted me that Chancellor Gene Block announced he was stepping down this year. I forgot about that. He made that announcement last year. So he's gone on May 23rd. So why is he kowtowing to a potential hearing? Meanwhile, Paulie was talking about this in the chat, but it's in the Washington Post. The House of Representatives has passed a bill, an anti-Semitism bill. It's called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. It's a bipartisan bill. Look at that. When it comes to silencing students and shutting down their rights, we can have bipartisanship after all. This is so problematic. My colleague, Attorney Dion Raymond, she's also a host of her own show here on KBLA Talk 1580 every weekend on Sundays. Attorney Dion Raymond also went to UCLA and has a child attending there now. Her show is The Justice Files with Dion Raymond. It's Sunday mornings at 10. Good morning, Attorney Raymond.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm worried. I mean, I'm always blessed, but I'm worried. How are you?
I'm good. And thank you for letting me weigh in. This is something that is really close to my heart, and I should just I may not have shared with you that my son actually he graduated in 2019.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, he's a Bruin. My mother, my sister. My son's a fifth generation Bruin. But the reason why this is so close to my heart because it makes me the level of sadness that I feel is because of a certain context that I feel that I have. At this stage, I feel like I'm a bit of a historian because I was at UCLA in 1985. And I was also the Black Student Alliance chair in 1985. And yes, a former Bruin, God rest his soul, John Caldwell, he was the Black Student Alliance chair 1980-81. And he had recently graduated from the University of Texas at Austin Law School. And he came back to UCLA with an idea of how we could elevate our protests, calling on the University of California to divest from those businesses supporting apartheid in South Africa. And he said, you as the BSA chair, work with the student body president, who was a Jewish woman. And the intention, Dominique, was, of course, to disrupt business as usual, because it was the business as usual that was allowing the injustice of apartheid to continue. And we wanted the University of California, and UCLA in particular, to recognize its responsibility and purpose locally, nationally, and globally. And so it was our intention to disrupt classes, not to disrupt them, but for students to not go to classes. I also want to say what I learned, Dominique, is that this would have happened with or without us. Then and now, we are watching a movement that is bigger than the one of us, but there is one sort of collective consciousness that is rallying around this. And so these things take on, I watched, it took a life on as its own. Another difference, Dominique, is that there wasn't any polarizing faction that was in dramatic opposition to this movement. Here's another distinguishing feature. We had relationships, student leaders. It was normal for us to already have relationships with the chancellor, who at the time was Charles Young, who had been chancellor since the 1960s, was there dealing with Panthers and the Panther movement, the Black Power movement. So he was accustomed to dealing with students and student movements. And the vice chancellor of student affairs at the time, Winston Dobie, God rest both of their souls. So after we had occupied the administration building, now I'm relying on my memory, it may have been, I don't think it was 2 days, I think it was 2 weeks. We had a conversation, and we moved it to Schoenberg Quad, and then there were people coming from the community, and that's where it began to take a life on that becomes larger, Dominique, than any of the identified leaders. And there were other leaders involved in this, and this movement had been going on before I even came to UCLA. And so it really hurts me, when I woke up this morning, 4 a.m., and I saw that police were moving in on these students. But I think these leaders of these campuses and universities really need to understand that this right-wing MAGA movement, there's a reason why it is attacking colleges and universities. Because they want people who are ignorant. They want people who are uninformed. They want people who will fanatically storm, do January 6th like storming, absent of intellect or any reason. And so I think these leaders at these colleges and universities are shook by what they saw Congress do with these 3 women, 2 of whom have lost their jobs.
Yep.
So this is a very, very critical moment in time, not just because of what's happening on these colleges and universities, but Dominique, these young folks, unlike 1985, they can see what's happening on ground zero.
Yes.
In Palestine, in real time.
Yes.
So and one of the reasons I went to UCLA was because of its history of social political activism. As soon as we came there in the preceding summer, we were educated about the history of the Black Panthers. We were educated about why we as Black students, they would tell us you are not just here because of your hard work, GPA, and test scores. You are here because people fought and died for you to be here, and you have a responsibility to see that that ladder is not pulled up behind you, to wit, not be Clarence Thomas's. The UCLA brand, it's brand, it's activism, and faculty circled the wagons around Angela Davis when she was fired. I would like to see those faculty members out there or shutting down their classes and telling the academic senate, we are not teaching again until this is resolved. This is our purpose, to engage in critical analysis and dialogue and confront those things that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, so many great points. Hello. So many great points. I mean, I was also out there doing anti-apartheid actions, and cops didn't come, but we had dialogue, sometimes intense, with the university. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we got some movement. We got at the time, B of A was a big investor in apartheid, and we got that removed from campus. Right. They made some concessions. They didn't give us everything we wanted, but they didn't criminalize us. They didn't suspend us. They didn't try to ruin our careers after college. Or
law professors saying, "Don't hire my students,"
right.
Because they support Palestine. Dominique, it never occurred to me in April of 1985 through to June, and the LA Times had reported it at the time as the largest student protest since the Vietnam War. It never occurred to me that I might be arrested, that I might be expelled, that I might not graduate. I did graduate exhausted, but it never occurred to me. And I never saw police until we went and protested at the South African consulate in Beverly Hills, and they came in with riot gear and dogs. But we were also attending meetings at Ward AME with, there was Randall Robinson and Maxine Waters in the Free South Africa movement. There was a lot of support that was, students were protesting in up north in Cal, and up north, y'all really, really turned. Now that's the real turn up.
Yeah, we were turned up for sure, but we were not being arrested nor suspended. It was still, like you said, tiring, and it was still. It wasn't the kind of polarization that we see now, but it's not like we didn't have opponents. The Young Republicans Club was always out there talking smack and trying to do their little marches and saying, stupid stuff. But it wasn't like this, where you have people coming in and trying to counter protesters, actually trying to harm you physically. We didn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we were set up in Schoenberg Quad and right across the way from us in Dixon Quad was a, counter protest. That would not have been cute.
Yeah.
In 1985, that would not have been cute. Not that, those of us protesting apartheid would have been violent, but you can see where the seeds are or the potential. And I want to add, when you've got folks coming from off campus, they may have been coming on campus with the agenda of inciting the kind of conduct for the purpose of having police called.
I mean, that's my read. Not just police called in, but having the encampments, removed. And our clock. Can you stay with me another break, Attorney Raymond?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd love to have you. I'm greedy. I'll take as much of your time as you can give us. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union symposium you used to do? You know, the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one.
Let's bring them back.
Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I believe up there. Hey!
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now, you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears, thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And Attorney Dion Raymond is just stopping by this morning to check in with us, and it's much appreciated. Her show is The Justice Files, 10 a.m. Sundays. Your son, a fifth-generation UCLA Bruin. That's quite amazing. I mean, what advice would you give, legal or otherwise, to the student protesters and to the administration there? You know, we've talked about faculty. Some faculty have been walking at it at colleges across the country in support. But what ought the students be doing at this point? And what about, the administration?
Well, I don't want to get into no trouble giving folks no legal advice.
Right.
So, but I like where you're going. What I can give is my perspective, not just as a Bruin, not just as a former staff member there, but also as from my justice lens, Dominique. It's tough because particularly as Black students, we have so much hinging on education. I would like to think, Dominique, that the Dean of Students is not going to be threatening students with suspension or expulsion. I mean, absent like some clearly, illegal activity, which they have processes and procedures for that anyway. But I would like to think, and I don't remember which university announced, they messaged that they will not suspend or expel students.
I think that was Humboldt, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been Humboldt.
Thank you for that. And they're really turning up at Humboldt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And you see, when I read that President Drake, he's the president of all the UC campuses, when I read that he had issued a directive to remove all the encampments and the protesters, I felt like you could predict it was going to escalate things.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, these are individuals. Look, UCLA is the #1 applied to university in the nation. they take the, they pride themselves on taking the best and the brightest. You got the best and the brightest telling you, that we need to take action. We need to do something. The Biden administration had Vice President Kamala Harris doing this campus tour, this college tour, to get out the vote. I think, I was listening to you, I think they need to send out a clear, unequivocal message supporting the students. And I think these administrators need support. I hope that they really learn from all this and understand that, Dominique, it's like being a parent. You can't just tell your kids, do as I say or do what I tell you. Never forget someone who I had on my show recently. She's a psychotherapist. Once said, your kids don't do what you ask them to do because of power. They do it because of the relationship. And there needs to be a really good relationship between administrators and identified student leaders, all of them, because this kind of stuff, it's going to come up. It's a given. And we're living in really crucial times. Everyone knows Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy and everything else. But as you said on your show the other day, Biden, you got to show us something, better. And this is part of it. We've got to listen to these students. There has to be place for protest.
Yeah. And we don't have time to touch on it, but that's what's worrying me about this Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, because the Republicans are saying it's going to give college administrators tools for refusing to address anti-Semitism on their campuses. In other words, punishing people for not punishing the students enough.
You know what? They have tools for dealing with discrimination, harassment, and retaliation.
Hello.
They already have the policies and the procedures in place.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah.
And so, where were they when, back in 2013, 2014, when Kamala Harris, who was Attorney General at the time, she was on campus meeting with the chancellor at the time about complaints that had come to her office's attention about anti-Blackness.
Yeah. Well, we have to leave it there. Attorney Dion Raymond, thank you so much for checking in with us this morning.
Absolutely.
News, traffic, and sports, then your phone calls on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A lawsuit against South Carolina's 6-week abortion ban will be in court today. Planned Parenthood South Atlantic and 3 doctors are seeking a preliminary injunction against the ban known as the fetal heartbeat law. In part, the suit seeks a definition of a fetal heartbeat, arguing that all components of the heart are not formed in the womb until around 9 weeks, not 6. The late New Jersey Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver will be honored this weekend by her alma mater. Lincoln University will establish the Sheila Oliver Memorial Scholarship as part of its alumni reunion weekend. The African American's life, legacy, and her lasting impact on the university and the broader community will also be celebrated at the Alumni Awards dinner Saturday. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hey, DQ fans, cool off with their new Summer Blizzard treat menu. Try new Picnic Peach Cobbler or snag a perfect beach treat like their new Peanut Butter Cookie Dough Party. The new Summer Blizzard treat menu is one you won't want to miss, only at participating DQ locations. Happy taste good.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A disastrous night for the Clippers at Crypto.com. The Clippers lost by 30 to the Dallas Mavericks in Game 5 of their first-round series. It was the worst playoff loss in the 54-year history of the Clippers franchise. The Mavericks are up 3-2. They can eliminate the Clippers Friday night in Dallas in Game 6. The Clippers were soft on offense and defense. It was their offense last night that alarmed everybody in the house. The Clippers shot 37% and made only 9 of 35 three-pointers. For some reason, James Harden and Paul George did a horrible job of following up on their great performance in Game 4 when they combined for 66 points. Harden and George made only 6 of 25 shots. George finished with 15 points, Harden only 7. Without Kawhi Leonard in the lineup, Harden and George have to get it done, and they did not deliver. They need to step up Friday night. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king.
It's the farewell tour. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, and KBLA wants to send you and the special mom in your life Sunday, May 12th at the Kia Forum.
Make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go.
Also featuring soul icon Anthony Hamilton.
You the best of me. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
And After 7. It's a Mother's Day celebration you won't forget. Listen in for your chance to win tickets. And don't forget to wear white. It's the farewell tour with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Dominique DiPrima. I'm inviting you in 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Paul is on the phone. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you doing today?
I'm blessed. How are you?
A little disturbed off of you know everything that's been transpiring at UCLA and throughout the college campuses with these students, and how in some ways history is repeating itself for those that don't follow it. And we're dealing with essentially a couple of elephants in the room. One being just the American media system in itself and how it's just essentially put in place to uphold systems of oppression. And how these students, and at one time we were the 20-year-olds, and how they're essentially standing up for what the elephant in the room is, with 2 wealthy, rich white men, Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump, and those enablers surrounding them that are trying to put their hands once again on a presidential election coming up. And what's sad about it more than anything else is these students are standing up for essentially preventing World War III from happening. And what's crazy about that, Dominique, is who do you think they're going to draft first to put on the front lines of those wars when it happens? Black and brown people. And it's terrible because instead of opening up and having dialogue, to come to solutions like Brown University did on their end, the media is painting this with a broad brush and not focusing on facts. For example, did you know at the Columbia University encampment protest, there were pictures before Mike Johnson spoke of Galvin McInnes being there. And for those that don't know who Galvin McInnes is, he's actually the founder of the Proud Boys. So what is a Proud Boy doing at a peaceful protest?
I mean, what is Mike Johnson doing at a peaceful protest for that matter?
So think about it. Like the BLM peaceful protest, these movements, what happens is positive movements, progressive movements always get derailed by co-ops. And what's sad about it is because the media plays part in it, they're going to paint this in a broad brush. And what's even crazier is they're not even talking about how Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, said the land in Gaza, the waterfront property, is valuable. And
yeah, I read
that.
That's crazy.
So when you say that, you're openly saying that what the elephant in the room is. You have a war criminal in right now that's Bibi Netanyahu that we all know that's staying in power and keeping his war going so he doesn't end up in jail.
Right.
Because the moment the war ends, he's going to get removed. Oh, so instead of doing that, we're going to leverage this situation to keep me in office. We don't talk about also how Donald Trump and those stolen documents. Where did you think those stolen documents ended up and what it led to?
Interesting.
Once again,
theory. Yeah. I mean, there's so much there, Paul, and you were talking in the chat about this, Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which probably won't pass the Senate. Coverage. It's not, well, yeah, the Washington Post has an interesting article. You think it will? I don't think so, because one of the things that they're saying is that they can basically defund universities if any protesters say anything. You're not allowed to compare Israel to the Nazis. That's considered anti-Semitism. You're not allowed to criticize the Israeli state. And the crazy thing about that is we would have stricter rules around the criticism of Israel than around the criticism of the United States. That, I don't think that's going to fly.
Let me tell you why it is. Like everything else, once that Citizens United situation with the Supreme Court got through, our legislative branch is controlled by donors. So, and who are the donors? Until money gets out of our government, we're going to have corruption. And why do you think they're backing a guy like Donald Trump? See, the difference between Republicans and Democrats, Republicans are going to push for whatever it takes to get power and control.
But they're such opportunists, Paul. I mean, look at, and I could be wrong. You could be right. I didn't think that they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade. I really didn't. They swore in front of Congress they wouldn't, and then they did. But look, I mean, it is worth noting that as Teresa Fernandez, as she's a congresswoman out of New Mexico, says, Donald Trump dines with Holocaust deniers and said there were fine people on both sides at a rally where white supremacists were chanting, Jews will not replace us, but yet they're going to pass the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which is really in violation of the First Amendment.
Come on now. Come on, Dominique, check this out. And I'm going to say this to everybody because my people, my community, and my family matters to me, especially as a black man and I'm going to remind people, Donald Trump is losing support. If you pay attention to the primaries, his base is shrinking. They know that. So like everything else, much like how they got Nixon in office, much how they got Reagan in office, they will use foreign adversaries to tip the scale towards their favor. And why are they doing that? And why am I bringing that up? The man directly out of his mouth has said his goal in his next administration, especially if you haven't read Project 2025, he wants to give police officers blanket protections from lawsuits. And he wants to make sure the criminals are shot. Who do you think he's talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that I have been saying, and I still believe this, that the Biden administration needs to step up and show us the difference between how you are going to handle protesters as opposed to how the Trump administration will. But DJT has said that people should be shot on sight. He said that. He said that if you beat up, out of his own mouth, if you beat up Black Lives Matter protesters, he'll pay your legal bill. It's not mysterious, but yet and still, I want the Biden administration to step up and say, this is how we handle it within the framework of our Constitution and our protected rights, as opposed to a total suppressive, totalitarian response.
Right, and I want to remind people, the Black Lives Matter protest in the media just threw this under the scope, was FBI infiltrated, and that was confirmed. But what ended up happening from it is our movement, because I was at some of the protests, our movement was clarified a terrorist in their white media's eyes. That was the goal overall. So when you're looking at these students protesting, what are they protesting for? Instead of having open dialogue to come to some form of resolution, what they're doing is silencing them and telling them, you know what, you don't matter. And why are they doing that? It's because they're trying to make sure they don't show up to the polls.
Honestly, I think it's going to, thank you, Paul. I think it's going to have just the opposite effect. I think they're going to show up to the polls, but I do not think they'll be voting for Biden. They may vote down ballot in ways that are helpful, but I don't think this keeps them from going to the polls. But I think you're right. And it's not just you don't matter, it's shut the F up, right? Because, 90 people arrested at Dartmouth, 300 arrested in New York last night, dozens arrested at UCLA. And this is happening all over the country. They are putting students in jail for doing something that's supposed to be constitutionally protected. And to your point, Paul, and it's a great point, because it's one of the reasons why I always talk about spin and propaganda and talking points. We have to be able to decipher. The New York Post, which is a right-wing rag, but they're not the only ones, are now calling the students pro-terrorist. Pro-terror. First it was pro-Palestinian or anti-Israeli, rather than saying anti-war or anti-genocide, anti-slaughter. Not that. Now it's pro-terrorist student protesters. And it's exactly what the point you were making about BLM, which is the vilification, criminalization, and, besmirching of the protesters in a way that doesn't accurately represent what they're there for, and then you're criminalizing and addressing the behavior rather than addressing the concern that drove them to the streets in the first place. It is literally taking, an axe. What was it Obama said? Taking an axe when you need a scalpel. Sit down. Respect their brains. Respect their rights. Understand their point of view. See if there are points of, agreement or ways you could move forward. The Biden administration and these counter-protesters are giving more respect to Hamas than our own doggone college students, our children who are at these universities. We as parents, as progressives, as conscious people, as people who believe in our Constitution, most especially the First Amendment, we cannot allow this to go on. We cannot allow this to be normalized whatsoever. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Do you support public education? More than 38,000 educators at United Teachers Los Angeles do too. Together, we have fought for a better public education for our students and communities, and having you on our side has been essential in our fight for better public schools. Together, we will continue to work for public schools with green spaces, more mental health staff, smaller class sizes at every grade level, and a higher investment in the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are UTLA, and you make us stronger. Hey, LA residents, it's planting season and the perfect time to get shade trees growing around your home. LADWP and City Plants are giving every resident up to 7 free trees. That's right, 7 free trees delivered right to your door. Trees are great for the environment, help improve air quality, and can help you save on your bill when you use less air conditioning to stay cool indoors. Learn more at ladwp.com/free trees. That's ladwp.com/free trees.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
So when we're talking about chilling our right to freedom of speech, it is ironic that the same right-wing Republicans who cry about how they're being restricted from college campuses because of protests, that they should be able to come there and say anti-black, anti-Semitic, anti-Asian things, and that should be not just that they should be allowed, but they should not have to deal with protests, are now saying that students who actually go to those campuses should not be allowed to express themselves. But Ben Shapiro should be able to come on and spew whatever, horrible things he wants with no pushback whatsoever. It is a double standard that is very problematic, and it's authoritarianism. I mean, it really is. It is the suppression of freedom of expression. This Anti-Semitism Awareness Act says that the federal definition of anti-Semitism, which comes from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, would be adopted, and that means, quote, claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor, applying double standards to Israel that are not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation, and drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of Nazis. All of those things would be illegal, and they could trigger the defunding of those campuses. The U.S. Department of Education could cut off funding to academic institutions, this is from the Washington Post, found to tolerate such behaviors. There's no other group, there's no other nation, including this one, that has a law that chills your right to criticize, no matter whether you agree with the criticism or not. You can get up there and say the U.S. is a Nazi nation, and it won't put you in jail, and it will not defund the university that you attend. But if this law passes, and it just passed the House, hopefully Paul's wrong and it won't pass the Senate, then that would now become illegal. And in this one similarity that I do see, with this Supreme Court sending this McKesson versus Doe back to the states. So now we're in Texas and Louisiana. Any protest organizer can be held criminally and financially liable for anything anyone does at a protest. What it does is it empowers the government and, opposition to bankrupt progressive organizations. And if you look at what happened at UCLA the night before last, what it does is it gives these right-wing groups an easy mechanism to do that. Let's say that the Louisiana law was in place here in California right now. The law that is actually present right now in Louisiana. The outside agitators or counter-protesters, the grown-ass people that were beating up students the night before last at UCLA, they could have all the people who were hospitalized, any damage that they did could have been held to account to the student organizers of that protest. So that gives outside agitators, MAGA trolls, and whoever else, it actually encourages them to run in and create damage, physical damage, do costly harm, and also to hurt people, because that now could be used to bankrupt their opposition, the people they came to oppose as counter-protesters. And so not only is this chilling to free speech, it's encouraging people to infiltrate and then hurt and then do harm to property and other humans. And what are we doing, America? What are we actually doing right now? Let's go to Mikhail calling us from LA. Good morning.
I'm going to say in the Hebrew word, shalom, shalom. I've been on your show when you was on the front page. Carl Nelson and Jamal came in. The Negroes are the Hebrew Israelites. That 1948 went over there and took it violently. But the point is, we are the real Jews of the world. We did 400 years of slavery, captivity, and everything. And you don't like the Bible that much, as I talked to you before, but that's our history.
Please don't put words in my mouth, Mikhail. I've never said I don't like the Bible. I will hang up on you. If you put words in my mouth, I will hang up on you. You can say what you want to say. You do have the freedom to represent yourself. Do not represent me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm saying that's our land. From the Euphrates to the Nile River belongs to us. We lost our culture through slavery, from Kunta Kinte to Toby, and we've been brainwashed.
So you're saying, I know you're a Hebrew Israelite, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. So you believe that, because in my understanding, Judaism or Jewishness is a religion. It's also, in some instances, considered an ethnicity, and it is a state. You don't agree with that?
No, they went over there in 1948 to steal our identity, our culture. The original Jews are black. I can show you all through the scriptures.
I mean, I've talked to Hebrew Israelites before, and others who have similar beliefs. But my question was, are you talking about race? Are you talking about religion? Or are you talking about the state of Israel?
I'm talking about our heritage, identity. But this war over
ethnicity.
There is prophesied to happen.
Ethnicity, not religion.
Ethnicity.
So, because
right.
I'm just trying to be clear. You're not religiously Jewish, and you're not, and you're not Israeli. So you're saying ethnically.
Ethnically, yeah. The Negroes are the original Hebrew Israelites, and that war over there is going to happen. It's prophesied. We got to go back home. It's our land, and after 400 years over here, we are going to go back and claim our land and build. We got a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of people.
That's your belief system. It's definitely not a mainstream belief system. But what would you do if you were to claim the land? And will you kick out the Israelis and the Palestinians and everybody else who lives there?
Well, Palestinians are really fighting for us. They're really fighting for us. They're claiming that them people there now the imposters are not the original Jews. Really
what about the idea of having one state where everybody has rights, where if you wanted to go live in Israel, you could, if you could, find a way to get citizenship, and Israel, Palestine was one, or two states separately. What about, giving rights, agency, and sovereignty to all the folks that live there in a humane and peaceful way? What's wrong with that?
Okay. We discriminate against? We're gonna always be second-class citizens. So you talking about treat everybody right?
No, what I'm talking about is what we'd like to see. I'm talking aspirationally now.
Of course, but we are the most talented people in the world. How come we could come from slavery and be a Muhammad Ali, a Jim Brown? You could go into. We invented the car. We invented the airplane, electricity, Louis Lattimore, but we don't have no rights of that. They took our inventions and they used it, and they took all our money from what they couldn't patent it back then. So what you mean rights? We don't have no rights. We never.
As I said to you, I was talking aspirationally, because you're saying we want to go over there. We're going to take the land. We're going to take it back. And what I'm saying is, why does anyone have to take it? Why can't we say, okay, right now these people live here. Everyone should have rights. The fact that the borders of Gaza and the West Bank are controlled by Israel means they're not actually a free and functional state that has sovereignty. So you either have to have one state where everyone has the same rights, and I agree, we don't have that here yet. It's still aspirational for the United States. Or you've got to have two separate states where people have true sovereignty and agency over their land, their lives, and their movement. And right now we don't have either. And I'm not trying to say that, I'm not brushing under the carpet the fact that we don't have that here. I'm just saying, it sounds like you want to go in and be another colonizer. And I'm just saying, to me, the fact that you or the Israelis or the Palestinians was there first, what we have to deal with is where we are right now and how do we protect the rights, humanity, and lives of the people that are there right now. Time for our deep dive. Dominique DiPrima. Dr. Paul Wallace joins us next on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A lawsuit against South Carolina's 6-week abortion ban will be in court today. Planned Parenthood's A Fetal Heartbeat arguing that all components